My family and we moved here when I was 16. It was a few years later that she started dialysis. So I was here, to see her. She was actually forced to retire to go on dialysis. It was exhausting for her. She would come home and she would be very tired and have one day to recuperate and then, have to go back. And I remember visiting her, while she was on dialysis, and she was a real trooper. She passed away because being on dialysis for a while can really affect your whole body. She did the best she could. The end result was that she had a heart attack. My name is Myrna Bernstein. I'm 65 years old. I suffer from polycystic kidney disease, and what that is, it's a hereditary kidney condition. It involves cysts being formed in your kidneys at birth, and then at middle age, something triggers the activation of the cysts to take on water, so they enlarge, and eventually they interfere with your kidney function. As a result, you have to go on dialysis, or if you're qualified, you can have a transplant. This disease was actually on my mother's side of the family, and it affected my mother's youngest brother, my mother herself, and my older brother. So when my mother was diagnosed when she was in her 50s, my brother and I got tested, and it was determined that we both had polycystic kidney disease. As a result, I was followed by a kidney doctor over the years, and it was about 4 years ago when my kidney function started to deteriorate. And it was over a year ago that my kidney function was at the point where I could be listed on a transplant list for a living donor or a deceased donor. Fortunately, I'm not on dialysis yet, but I do have dietary restrictions that I strictly have to adhere to, especially my potassium and phosphorus intake, because that can affect your heart and your overall health. So then my brother was affected by this condition back in his 40s too.
My name is Alan Silverman. My sister's Myrna Bernstein. In 1994, I believe, when my son was about 8 years old, I found out that I was going into renal failure, and doctors told me I would go on a transplant list and had to do some sort of dialysis. There were two forms back then. I can go on the regular renal dialysis, which was sitting on a machine for 6 hours a day, 3 times a week, or they gave me the option of what's called a peritoneal dialysis, which is a bunch of tubes attached to a bag. And I found that to be pretty convenient for me since I was working. I talked it over with my bosses, and they would allow me to do it during lunchtime at work.
Now that I'm in that similar place where I'm not on dialysis yet, but I would like to preempt having to go on dialysis by getting a kidney transplant. When my brother got his transplant, there was a different policy with kidney allocation that an older person could receive a younger kidney.
Live kidney has a better chance of helping the individual keep healthier, where the other type of kidney is a cadaver kidney, which I have gotten, and that's lasted 24 years. Knock on wood, it'll last another 15. But the child himself was 8 years old, so it was kind of a young kidney.
They just changed the kidney allocation policy in this January, and as a result, I got very anxious about being able to get a relatively healthy kidney, because with the new policy, a younger kidney will go to a person who has a longer lifespan and will be able to use that kidney for a much longer time than I would, being that I'm in my 60s. The wait time now is three to 5 years to be on a transplant list. So I decided to be proactive about trying to find myself a living donor.
My name is Dawn DeMars, and I met Myrna Bernstein in 1984 when I came on board to work for the Department of Social Services. And it was an immediate attraction in terms of a friendship, because when someone says that another person is one in a million, she is definitely one in a million. And over the past decades, we've never really parted ways. We have been a multitude of occasions mistaken for sisters, and I can only say that I wish that were true, because I would have loved to have a family member like Myrna, a sister especially. But she is part of my family now, and I have been on this journey with Myrna because I've been fortunate enough to remain her friend. And I think one of the most outstanding things that I've witnessed with Myrna and that I admire so much is you would never know from her that this has been a struggle, because no matter what, she has never complained. She has never shown any kind of disappointment, any kind of depression, has never ever stated, poor me, poor me.
Myrna has done a great job about keeping herself healthy. I don't know where she gets the energy to run around like she does, but she has done things to get herself try to get a transplant by marketing herself.
She, and I don't know how, just continues to go with the momentum and get up and find new ways to do this. And it's not just for Myrna, it's for everyone else out there who's looking for an organ to be donated. And I wish that I could have done that for her when this first started years ago. I'm a cancer survivor, so that took me right out of the circle for Myrna. But I have to say this, she's brought so much light and so much attention to this issue that I'm overwhelmed. And because she's such a generous person and it's a give, I'm the one that says, instead of Myrna, why isn't something coming to fruition for her?
Living donations have an advantage over cadaver donations, because with a living donation, you know you're getting a healthy kidney. So I was thinking of different ways I could do some outreach about finding a living donor. And one day I was driving along the highway and I was looking at the billboards and I thought to myself, oh, maybe I'll take out a billboard, not knowing, the cost or how to go about it. Well, I contacted one of the local companies and I spoke with them about what I wanted to do. And the sales associate said the company could work with me to put up a billboard in one of the residential areas of the city, because that would be less expensive. So they designed the billboard for me, and I was able to put it up for a month. I got numerous emails from people just to get information about donating, or to find out more information about what they would need to be a donor for me. So I responded to all the inquiries, and I referred people down to Mount Sinai Hospital, New York City, where I would be having the surgery, and they did all the screening. And as a result, I had 3 potential donors who were evaluated by Mount Sinai Hospital, but unfortunately all 3 were not qualified to be a donor. So I'm still continuing the search. I have printed up flyers and I put it put a flyer on Facebook, and I'm also putting flyers up in some of the local businesses and libraries and supermarkets around the area to try to continue my reaching out for a living donor. As a result of my my publicity, I wanted to, of course, help find a donor for myself, but to raise the awareness, that there are a lot of other people out there in my situation who are waiting for a donor. And if someone is interested in being a donor but would not be a suitable donor for me, they could go on one of these websites, thematchingdonor.com, or they can call Mount Sinai Hospital or one of their local hospitals that does kidney transplants and enlist to be an altruistic living kidney donor.
She is educating the public by going out, putting up the billboard. She's had a TV experience in front of a TV camera, talking about herself and her bid to find a live donor, and also trying to educate the public at the same time that there is a need for kidney donation, not just for her, but for a lot of other people as well. And I hope she's around for a long amount of time, in the future.
Myrna is just an incredibly optimistic, keep going, this is going to happen. When the time is right, this is going to happen. And I'm very, very fortunate and very blessed to be in her life and to be on this journey with her.